welcome back to another edition of the Ongoing History of Beer. I'm your host, as usual, Tiffany, and I have some special guests with me today, all the way from Guelph, Ontario. So I have Karyn Wilma joining me from Queen of Craft. I guess I should add that in because that's kind of something that I'm really excited to talk about today. So we've got the women in studio, and we're going to chat all about this wonderful thing that you do kind of year-round, kind of focused in March, but you're kind of doing things all year round.
Exactly.
And it's super, super wonderful. So let everyone out there who doesn't know already, give us a little brief synopsis on what Queen of Craft is. Thank you for joining. Welcome.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, it's great. I guess we can just bounce off of each other.
Sure.
And, basically, Queen of Craft originated in 2013. And the brewery I asked the brewery if I could actually take more initiative to do something because I was working events and it was getting a little stale for me.
Right, and this is at Wellington.
This was at Wellington Brewery. And so they said, come up with a program, do some research, see if you can do something creative. And I've always done clothing swaps and different things in the past where I donate the money back to women's organizations or organizations that benefit children. And so I thought, how can I marry sort of craft beer and some kind of community outreach? And I came up with Queen of Craft, and I thought women at the helm of the educating, a really safe space for women to learn about beer. Yes. At the time in 2013, it was a bit of a different dynamic in the
I can't believe that was 7.
Industry.
I was doing like quick hand math there, but 7 years.
7 years,
Ooh.
yeah. So there weren't a lot of spaces. It was very male dominated at the time.
Yeah.
And so I just put on one event at the brewery. Wilma attended.
I happened to be in the very first crowd.
Amazing,
She was in the
amazing.
very first crowd.
I was an attendee in the first season.
And it was a Beer 101. Mm-hmm. And we just covered all the simple topics of ingredients, brewing process, a little bit of history. And I don't know, I think we had maybe 45, 50
probably
women there. And it just was incredible. And the feedback was amazing. And Wilma got on board quickly as a volunteer.
Right. Little did Wellington know this was going to explode into now a full month.
A full month every
activities.
Friday. Every Friday we have at least 100 people in the audience and different topics. We've touched upon some really interesting stuff in the beer industry and worked with some incredible women in the beer industry. And we've created a real solid crew of women who are
absolutely really dedicated group who put in a lot of time because it is mostly volunteer driven.
Yeah, we have a great squad.
Right.
We do.
Yeah.
Yes.
And does a lot, so Wellington is where you were working, and was the brewery kind enough to allow you to start this small project
yes.
and flourish
yep,
and sort of
exactly.
put it in your hands, and obviously had some trust in you as well. What was the female presence like at Wellington when you started? Was it just kind of you working there as well? Like, has that grown kind of
it has grown
side by side as it has in the industry, but along with Queen of Craft you found
definitely
kind of housing?
Definitely it has grown, but even when I was there, it was one of the breweries that had more women working. For example, like probably a year or two after, we hired on an assistant brewer who's now one of the brewers, not an assistant, Robin, who helps out with Queen of Craft stuff. And the amount of incredible event staff that have come into the brewery through Queen of Craft has been remarkable. And some of them have sort of moved into different positions at the brewery as well.
Right.
So it's been, something that starts really small, and it's just kind of grown into something very beautiful and lots of moving parts.
People wait all year for this. Like the buzz continues.
The buzz continues.
What are they going to do this year?
Oh.
What costumes?
Yeah, exactly.
What
we
contest?
should tell you what we're going to do. One other thing that I really want to stress about it is that we give 100% of our profits back to organizations that benefit women and children, predominantly women in crisis in Guelph.
Beautiful.
We've been working with them very closely. But that's why we work so damn hard to make as much money as possible through merch, through ticket sales, because we really want to give a good donation back.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
It is. It's hard that those groups exist in the first place, but I think it's, that both sides, it's beautiful that you do have that to equally donate to and help as much as you can.
And I think it is a big driver for us to keep us really motivated with all of the things that we're doing with Queen of Craft is to really kind of maximize not only the donations that we can, but even just to continue to raise awareness for all the women issues.
That's awesome. Cool.
And with beer at the helm and
yes,
the beer education component, it's just so
I
much
like
fun
that
too.
fresh twist. I think even from when I started my little thing in Hamilton that I do too, like I love that side of what you were doing, so that kind of really encouraged me too to incorporate a bit of that. And I just always think education, I don't know if power is the right word, education is power, but it just really gives people the confidence too. And there's so many curious minds out there, and things that I think growing up in school, you're kind of forced to learn, whether you take it in or not. And then the fact that you actually can find something that you choose to go learn and learn more about. And we had that little chat earlier too. It's great to know about beer, but once you start learning about all the subsections that are involved in it, it kind of just really spurs the imagination and in the creativity. So I do love that you guys have a really big education focus on what goes on too.
That has been one of the things that has set us apart, and I feel it is really important to us as a team that we continue with the education piece, because I do think that knowledge is power, and having a better educated consumer I think is only going to do great things in the craft beer industry itself. It takes some of the scariness away for some people who might be hesitant to walk into a tap room. And now they have some of the vocabulary. They know themselves a little bit better. And I think it's a really great journey that people can go on with the education that I hope that we're helping to provide.
Yeah, and consumer, I shouldn't forget about that, but I think because we're giving information to people that we're always learning, but you're right, the consumer, that's who we're teaching, and they have that confidence to be able to go in and pick something off that insanely busy, colorful shelf at the store or in a brewery, or just know what they want to order without I mean, everyone should be open to answering their questions, but sometimes you get places that aren't too, so it's nice to have that a little bit.
I think it's also a way to make beer not just a recreational sport, so to speak, but it I think becomes so holistic when you're dealing with the education behind it, the ingredients, the work situation.
Hold that thought, because they're going to take us to break.
Okay.
But I want to tell everyone to make sure to stay in your seats, because we're going to crack a beer when we come back. We're going to finish this discussion and let everyone know how they can get involved.
Our son is one.
My father was one.
I am one.
Are you one?
Let's go get it! Go get the stick!
I am tired of this.
Wow. No!
You're something.
Hell yes.
Our ancestors came here from France to build a better life. We lived here happily for generations, until the British decided they wanted our land. The men were called to a meeting and then imprisoned. They demanded we swear an oath to their king and took everything, regardless. We were forced from Acadie, the only home we knew. Mon Acadie n'existera plus.
From 1755 to 1763, over 10,000 Acadians were ripped from their homeland. Despite this, Acadian culture endures in Atlantic Canada.
welcome back to the Ongoing History of Beer. Once again, I'm your hostess, Tiffany, and I've got Karyn and Wilma today with me from Queen of Craft. Thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having me.
We had a good
so
little laugh
Yeah.
over break. I think we're going to start pouring beers live on air. I opened that bad boy with a knife.
Oh yeah, it was badass.
So you brought a special beer here today. So why don't we segue? Oh yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. So lovely to see both of you. Oh, it is a beauty. So why don't we segue right into about this beer, again, what you guys do with beer, initiatives. Take it away.
Well, this beer specifically is a very special one in our hearts.
Yes, very, very special.
Every year for Queen of Craft, after you've been to all the 4 events in March, we put those names of everyone who's attended all 4 into a hat, and we choose 6 names, and we create a brew team.
So special.
So this group of women get to basically figure out what they'd like to brew, and then we actually go into the brewing process. We do a lot of trials before we actually get the recipe right.
Oh,
And-
cool. So
which
you're
is
kind
really
of starting
cool.
right from,
Yeah, so I mean, we'll take, if we know the style, we will get a similar style of beer, and then we'll take different adjuncts and put different flavors into it and
Yeah.
try. So it's kind of like a science experiment.
That's
it's really
great.
a lot of fun. So we develop the recipe, and then we brew. We spend a whole day brewing, and then we come back and check, and then down to the packaging, naming of the beer, and even label design.
So cool.
And then proceeds from each beer go back to Women in Crisis. And then we have a big release party. So this is our very first beer that we did in 2015, I think, was the first year.
No, they would have been right away in 2014. This beer came out.
Oh, but
Yes.
okay. I thought maybe we brewed it the next year for 2015. I'm not sure how the timeline worked on that, but we did submit it to the Canadian Brewing Awards.
Yeah.
And this one is a chai latte stout. So we wanted to make a really nice, comforting beer, and we were trying to think about what is comforting. We're thinking about sort of women in crisis, which is where our donation is going. And so we started thinking about tea.
Tea was a really big driver behind that, and the
right.
comforts of, we thought of sitting in front of a fire and drinking tea.
Yes. Love it.
So what we did, we didn't end up taking no chai bag of tea pre-made.
Of course not. No.
We went
No, we
I would
made it really
expect
hard on ourselves.
nothing else.
Single ingredient that you would put in chai, all the spices, and we tested basically what we would like more of. Do we want to scale down the cinnamon? Do we want to scale up the cloves?
That's why it tastes, I'm like, to me it's not a chai bomb, which some chais can be, or chai beers can be too much chai. Is that, you know
Yes,
what I'm saying?
definitely,
So this is
definitely.
beautifully done. It's spice.
It's spice. It's really spice. So we did it that way, brewed the first one, not knowing how it was going to turn out.
We had no idea.
We had no
Part of the
idea.
fun, isn't it?
And for the latte also, there was a little bit of lactose, just for a little bit of
Okay.
mouthfeel. And then it was...
You guys are pioneers using lactose back in
I know.
2015 or
Yeah,
14.
true.
I
Yeah,
believe the first brew was 2014.
right. So it was amazing. And Wellington Brewery submitted it to the Ontario, or the Canadian Brewing Awards, and it won gold at the Canadian Brewing Awards that
Next
year.
category.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it
we
did.
have been trying to, since then, every brew team has been trying to get that gold again.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten there again. So the bar was raised pretty high with this first
I love
one
that.
we did.
So to be able to get to that result, you have to attend all 4 Queen of Craft events.
Correct.
Which will be in March, so I'll get you to elaborate on that.
Yep.
And then, tell us where we can get tickets for that and how quickly they sell out, because I know I've waited in the past and I miss out. And I also tend to travel in March. I have to stop doing that so that I can
right.
So you can come.
Because I was watching wrestling in Mexico last year when you were doing the wrestling.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That sounds
yeah,
great.
So I felt like I was, a bit of my heart was there. But
Right. We are sold out of certain events, but we still do have a few all-in passes left. You
Okay.
can find them on Brewha. If you search Brewha Queen of Craft. You
Excellent.
can also check us out on Instagram, Queen of Craft Beer. You can also check us out on the Wellington Brewery website, which has a link to ticket sales as well. We have 4 very unique events this year. always have a cheese and beer pairing. That goes over so well. It's so much fun. It's such
Taste of Craft.
Lovely event with Taste of Craft.
Speaking of other people I should have on the show too.
That's a great idea.
Super awesome.
Yeah. We're doing something called the Mindful Imbiber, which is learning how to slow down a little bit and really get the most out of your tasting sensation. The sensations of tasting beer, rather. We're doing an event called Craftivism, which is really highlighting the breweries who are doing really good work in Ontario right now. And we're having Ren on that.
Good.
Specific
Ren will be speaking at that session.
Excellent.
And the last one we're doing are beer trends, which really it's a wide variety of topics that we're going to hit upon that night. And
things that we think are kind of either emerging or have just recently started coming out as a specific movement within beer.
Yeah. Where are you getting your like spidey senses for that stuff, or just because you're paying attention and looking what's out there and trying things and reading?
Definitely.
Yeah, it's an interesting time for beer now, that's for sure. With,
it really is.
This wide variety of subjects that you can have. There's a lot going on, and
there really is.
Really cool.
And I think as the craft beer industry continues to grow, I think we'll get to that point where there's a little bit of self-reflection as well from the industry, and what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? What's happening, en masse? And it really opens the door for so many conversations.
Yeah, especially with the growth, like everyone's always worried about this popping, and I'm like, I don't know if it's necessarily a bubble popping, but there's going to be some settling, and there's going to be a bit of change, but there's going to be good beer and good people kind of throughout that. But you're right, there's something kind of due to happen.
Bubbling, it's bubbling, for
bubbling
sure.
away.
Yeah.
So we have just over a minute left.
Okay.
So anything else you want to add to?
Well, I did want to give you this Queen of Craft T-shirt. Merch is a big part of how we make a bigger donation.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
So every year we try to come up with something unique. However, the logo on that T-shirt is our year-round symbol of Queen of Craft. So
beautiful.
And what's also neat about this too is that every year we have a different local artist who does our poster, and we create specialized merch around that artist's design. So this year we have an incredible tattoo artist in Guelph named Ali Sharbs, who actually spent a whole day tattooing people with Queen of Craft themes,
inspired tattoos,
and donated all of her profits back to women in crisis.
I love it. We're out of time, so I'm going to raise a glass to you.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
It was great.
And Dre's up next. We'll see you guys next time. Cheers.
Cheers.